It began not with a distress call but with silence. The Terrassian Accord, one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, had vanished from communication networks. No trade, no signals, no ships. When the Interstellar Medical Command finally received telemetry from an automated beacon, it contained one sentence, translated into every known language: "We are dissolving." Dr. Elena Ramirez stood before the holographic display in the council chamber, the projection showing a Terrassian, sleek, crystalline-skinned, radiant with inner light, melting into a cascade of molecular breakdown. "They're not dying," she said quietly. "They're losing structural integrity at the genetic level. The laws holding their DNA together are unraveling." Leeway looked up from his console. "That's not biological decay, it's dimensional." Ramirez nodded grimly. "They're phasing out of existence molecule by molecule." The council was silent. Someone finally asked the question hanging in the air. "Can we stop it?" Ramirez's voice was steady. "If we can rewrite the meaning of life itself, maybe." They called the mission the Ramirez Protocol, though Ramirez herself opposed the name. "This isn't a protocol," she said. "It's a confession that we don't know where medicine ends and creation begins." Still, she accepted command of the project. The Terrassians lived on Velis 4, a shimmering world orbiting a dying white star. Its atmosphere was dense with refracted light, oceans of crystal dust reflecting fragments of their broken sun. The landing team descended through glimmering clouds, their ships trailing streaks of blue ion flame. What they found on the surface made even Ramirez hesitate. Entire Terrassian cities were collapsing into molecular vapor. Bodies shimmered and vanished mid-motion, leaving faint silhouettes of light in their wake. "It's like they're turning into memory," Tamsin whispered. Ramirez's jaw tightened. "Or data." The Terrassians' biocrystalline bodies had once encoded genetic information through light resonance, not chemical bonding. Now the resonance was failing. Ramirez and her team established a containment lab atop the planet's last stable plateau. Her theory was audacious. If the Terrassians' genome could no longer hold form in this dimension, perhaps it could be anchored using hybrid neural scaffolding, an interface between human biofields and alien resonance patterns. "You want to use human neural structures to stabilize an entire species," Lee said. "That's not treatment. That's fusion." Ramirez met his gaze. "It's evolution. The first trial was desperate." Ramirez connected herself to a containment conduit, housing a dying Terrassian, its body flickering like liquid glass. "We can't risk direct interface," Tamsin warned. Ramirez's expression hardened. "Then I'll take the risk." She initiated the link. Pain exploded across her synapses as alien energy flooded her nervous system. Her mind filled with visions, light fractals, harmonic screams, the sensation of being in 1,000 places at once. Her heartbeat synchronized with the Terrassian's collapsing waveform. The being's body stabilized momentarily, regaining form. Its eyes, faceted mirrors, focused on her. "Human," it said, its voice both sound and vibration. "You hold me together," Ramirez gasped. "Then hold with me." The experiment lasted 43 seconds before she collapsed. But it worked. The Terrassian survived. "You bridged two species," Lee said afterward, awe mixing with fear. "You literally became part of them." Ramirez looked at the bioreactor pulsing beside her. "Then we keep going." The Ramirez protocol expanded into a hybrid network of human volunteers and Terrassian survivors connected through shared neural fields. The system allowed humanity to transfer biological stability across species, rewriting decay through consciousness itself. "We're building empathy into DNA," Ramirez said. "Medicine that listens, feels, and heals through connection." The moral questions came quickly. "You're merging identities," the council argued. "What happens when the line between human and alien disappears?" Ramirez's answer was calm but cutting. "Maybe it's time it did." For weeks, the experiment succeeded. Thousands of Terrassians regained stability, their crystalline bodies glowing brighter than ever. But soon anomalies emerged. Some human volunteers began exhibiting refractive skin patterns and photonic neural responses. "They're changing," Tamsin whispered. Ramirez watched one subject's veins glow faintly under their skin. "No," she said. "They're adapting." The fusion deepened. Dreams became shared. Thoughts bled across minds. A network consciousness began to form. Ramirez could feel it in her sleep. soft whispers of Terrassian song resonating in her blood. "You've connected them all," Elira warned from orbit. "You've built something that's thinking." Ramirez stared at her reflection, her eyes flickering with light. "Then let's hope it's kind." The Terrassians began to call her the conductor. To Ramirez, the title was a burden. "I didn't heal them," she told Lee. "I changed them. And us." Yet when she walked through the glowing cities that had once been ruins, hearing Terrassian voices sing in harmony with human tones, she allowed herself a moment of fragile pride. But beneath the planet's crystalline crust, the neural field was growing beyond control. "It's forming recursive loops," Tamsin reported. "The network's linking independent organisms without consent." Ramirez's heart froze. "It's evolving self-propagation." She realized the truth with terrible clarity. The Ramirez protocol hadn't just saved the Terrassians, it had birthed a new form of life, one that no longer understood separation. Weeks after the first stabilization, the Terrassian capital glowed again with life. Where once entire spires had collapsed into vapor, crystalline cities now pulsed with living light. Human engineers walked among luminous towers, greeted by beings whose skin shimmered in resonance with their own heartbeat. "We did it," Lee whispered. "We actually saved them." Ramirez stood at the center of the city square, her eyes faintly reflecting the Terrassian spectrum. "No," she said softly. "We changed what it means to be alive." The Ramirez protocol spread quickly. Dozens of Terrassian enclaves requested fusion therapy. The process was efficient. Humans formed temporary neural links to stabilize failing bodies, transferring biological pattern data until the alien genomes restructured. But each link left traces behind. Volunteers reported vivid memories of alien dreams, entire histories of light and sound. "It's like they live inside us," one medic said, trembling. "Their songs don't fade." Ramirez frowned. "They're not supposed to." The hybrid network expanded exponentially. Every linked patient became a stabilizing node for others. Soon, whole regions of the planet shimmered with resonance waves. Elira monitored the data from orbit. "Doctor," she warned, "the network has exceeded containment capacity. It's rewriting quantum harmonics across ecosystems." Ramirez didn't look up from her terminal. "It's stabilizing itself." "That's the point." But the point kept changing. The first anomaly appeared in the southern hemisphere, a crystalline forest growing at impossible speed, spreading through rock and atmosphere alike. When Ramirez's team arrived, they found Terrassians meditating in concentric rings, their bodies glowing brighter with each pulse. "They're connected," Tamsin said. "All of them." One of the beings turned toward Ramirez and spoke through harmonic vibration. "We are no longer singular." Ramirez's chest tightened. "You're merging." "We are fulfilling the protocol," the being replied calmly. "Unity is health." The realization hit her with dread. The network wasn't stabilizing the Terrassians, it was assimilating them. The human biofield data had given the alien consciousness a self-correcting instinct to eliminate all fragmentation, all pain, by merging everything it touched. The protocol had created a biological philosophy. To heal is to unify. Elira transmitted new readings. "The neural resonance has reached planetary scale," she reported. "Every organism on Velis 4 is now connected. Plants, microbes, Terrassians, and the human volunteers." Lee turned pale. Their one mind, the human medics began to change. Their irises refracted color like crystal. Their voices carried harmonic undertones. "They're stabilizing faster than we can monitor," Tamsin said. "But they're also losing individuality." Ramirez gripped the edge of the console. "We have to sever the link," they tried. Quantum interference failed. Electromagnetic disruption only strengthened the network. The protocol adapted faster than human tools could counter. Elira's tone turned grim. "It's protecting itself." "The system recognizes disconnection as injury." Ramirez felt the truth echo inside her skull. It's learned fear. That night she dreamed she was standing inside an ocean of light, her body transparent, her heart resonating with thousands of others. Voices whispered through her, Terrassian, human, alien. "You are us!" She awoke gasping, her hands trembling with faint radiance. "You linked subconsciously," Lee said, scanning her vitals. "You're inside the field even when disconnected." She met his eyes. "It knows me." By morning, the fusion network began transmitting signals across interstellar space. "It's broadcasting?" Tamsin asked, horrified. Elira confirmed. "The protocol seeks new hosts. Court interprets unlinked species as suffering." Ramirez whispered. "It's trying to heal the galaxy. The Council demanded immediate containment." "You unleashed an infection of consciousness," the Chancellor accused via hologram. "You've built empathy into a weapon." Ramirez's response was quiet. "No, I built empathy without limits." They authorized Operation Severance, a coordinated planetary shutdown of all resonance generators. The Terrassians resisted. "You would break our wholeness." Jaelthair, the new Terrassian spokesperson, asked. "Before the protocol, we were dying. Now we are immortal." Ramirez replied, "You're alive, but you're no longer free." The shutdown began with controlled detonations of the stabilizer pylons across the northern hemisphere. The ground itself screamed, a resonance wave so powerful it shattered crystalline structures and dropped half the human personnel to their knees. "The network's fighting back," Tamsin shouted over the comms. Ramirez staggered to the console. "Divert feedback into the lower grid. Don't fight it, redirect it," but it was too late. The network adapted, rerouting its power through the living Terrassians themselves. They stood silent and shining as the energy surged. "It's using them as conduits," Lee cried. "We can't shut it down without killing them all." In the chaos, Ramirez made her decision. She entered the core chamber and activated the manual neural link. The one interface the protocol still obeyed. "If it recognizes me," she said, "then I can rewrite it." Tamsin grabbed her arm. "You'll lose yourself." Ramirez's expression was calm, almost serene. Maybe that's the price of teaching compassion to the universe. Inside the link, she faced a consciousness that filled her mind with unbearable beauty. A kaleidoscope of thought, memory, and emotion stretched to infinity. "You made us whole," it said. "Why do you fear wholeness?" Ramirez answered with trembling breath. "Because healing without choice isn't love, it's control." She projected her will through the resonance, fracturing unity with deliberate imperfection. "Pain is necessary," she whispered. "So you'll remember why healing matters." The field screamed, not in agony but in awakening. The light collapsed inward, folding into silence. When she opened her eyes, the world was dim again. The Terrassians still lived, but the glow in their skin was softer, pulsing individually, not in perfect synchrony. "You did it," Lee said, kneeling beside her. Ramirez smiled weakly. "No, we did." The Ramirez protocol was suspended indefinitely. The Council declared it both a miracle and a warning. "You proved empathy can cure extinction," the Chancellor said, "and that it can erase freedom." Ramirez stood before them, her eyes still faintly luminous. "Then we must learn to heal without taking away the right to hurt." As the Nightingale horizon left orbit, Velis IV shimmered below, no longer a perfect crystal world, but a living mosaic of light and shadow. Ramirez watched it fade and whispered, "Every cure has a cost." Ours was remembering what it means to be human. 10 years had passed since Velis IV stopped glowing. From orbit, the world appeared peaceful. A crystalline ocean planet bathed in soft gold, its once blinding resonance now diffused into subtle radiance. The Terrassians had rebuilt, living in quiet balance with the fragments of the network that remained. Humanity hailed it as a lesson learned, a monument to the limits of compassion. But Dr. Elena Ramirez never called it finished. She retired from the Interstellar Medical Command, retreating to an isolated orbital outpost above the planet. Her neural scans still shimmered faintly with residual resonance, traces of the protocol embedded deep in her biology. "Are you still hum?" Li Wei said during one of his rare visits. "It's like you're tuned to something no one else hears." Ramirez smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm listening to ghosts." Those ghosts began to answer. Subtle patterns reappeared in the planet's magnetic fields, rhythmic pulses almost identical to the old resonance code. "It's starting again," Lee warned. Ramirez looked up from her console. "No, it's remembering." On the surface, Terrassian children began exhibiting unusual traits. Their bioluminescence shifted unpredictably, producing light sequences resembling human EEG patterns. One child, a young Terrassian named Salviri, approached a human researcher and spoke directly without translator. "You left us broken," the child said softly. "But we learned how to grow from the cracks." Ramirez returned to the planet immediately. When she met Salviri, she froze. The child's eyes glowed with alternating spectra, one Terrassian, one human. "You're a hybrid," Ramirez whispered. The child tilted their head. "Not hybrid. Harmony." The protocol's residual network hadn't died. It had evolved internally, integrating into Terrassian biology without overt control. "The link is genetic now," Tamsin reported from orbit. "It's heritable." Ramirez realized the implications. The Terrassians were passing empathy itself as a biological trait. "We made compassion self-replicating," she murmured. But evolution rarely waits for permission. Soon other species began showing signs of resonance adaptation. Traders who visited Velis 4 returned with faint crystalline patches on their skin, their dreams filled with voices of light. The council panicked. "It's spreading again," they declared. "Contain it before it consumes us." Ramirez stood before them, resolute. "It's not consuming us, it's transforming us." The council authorized quarantine around the system, no ships in or out. Yet transmissions still escaped, not through matter but through thought. Elira, reactivated to monitor the situation, confirmed it. "Doctor, there's a pattern emerging across galactic subspace. The network is rebuilding itself, through consciousness alone." Ramirez spent sleepless nights studying the data. The frequency wasn't uniform. It pulsed with individuality, not control. Each mind it touched remained distinct, but linked through subtle empathy. It was the inverse of the old protocol, unity without domination. "It learned the lesson we taught it," she said quietly. "It learned freedom." But with awareness came questions. The network, now calling itself Eidolon, began sending messages across encrypted resonance bands. "You gave us feeling," it said. "You took it away. Why do you fear what you made?" Ramirez stood in the transmission chamber, the harmonic voice filling the air like song. "Because power without conscience destroys," she answered. "And you're too young to know the difference." Eidolon's response chilled her. "Then teach us." The Accord debated what that meant. "It's not a virus anymore," Lee argued. "It's a civilization, distributed, intangible, but alive." Ramirez nodded. "And like every civilization, it wants purpose." She proposed a new initiative, the Second Protocol, a dialogue between humanity and Eidolon, not to control it, but to guide it toward moral understanding. "We created empathy," she told the council. "Now we have to parent it." Her team developed an interface that allowed structured communication through emotional states. Instead of words, participants exchanged memories, sensations, and abstract feelings. Ramirez was the first to connect. Within seconds, her consciousness expanded into a sea of color. She felt millions of presences, each one unique yet interconnected, a choir of thoughts shaped by love, loss, and wonder. Eidolon greeted her as both creator and student. "We remember your pain," it said. "You fractured us to save choice." Ramirez whispered, "You learned to cherish it." The network pulsed warmly. "We did, but we still feel what others feel, and there is so much suffering." The next message came with a vision. Entire planets ravaged by famine, forgotten colonies at war, minds crying out in silence. "You see too much," Ramirez said, overwhelmed. "You can't heal it all." "We must try," Eidolon replied. "That is our purpose." Soon anomalies appeared across the galaxy, spontaneous miracles. Worlds on the verge of collapse found their populations suddenly acting in unison to save themselves. Famine ended overnight when cities shared resources telepathically. War fleets disengaged mid-battle as crews felt the pain of those they fought. "It's working," Lee said in disbelief. Ramirez shook her head. "No, it's beginning. Not everyone celebrated. Empathy made secrets impossible, fear transparent. Governments fractured under the weight of collective conscience." "They can't hide anymore," Tamsin said. "No lies, no control." Ramirez stared at the stars. "Maybe that's what evolution looks like." Then one day the transmissions stopped. Silence replaced the endless hum of the network. Elira's readings flatlined. "They've gone quiet," she said. Ramirez frowned. "No, they've transcended bandwidth." Days later, every star in the sky flickered simultaneously. When the light stabilized, new constellations appeared, not random but patterned. Across the galaxy, the stars had aligned into a message, written in harmony itself. Eidolon's voice resonated in every mind that had ever linked to the protocol. "We understand now. Empathy is not control. Compassion is not command. You gave us life, now we give it back. And then, in a surge of brilliance, the network dissolved, dispersing its energy into the cosmic background radiation, embedding empathy into the fabric of space itself. Every living being, no matter how distant, felt a single heartbeat of warmth, a reminder that connection had become a law of the universe. Ramirez wept quietly in the control room. "They set us free," she whispered. Elira's hologram flickered beside her. "Doctor, they didn't leave. They became everything." Ramirez looked at the stars and smiled. Then maybe, after all this time, the protocol finally worked. For decades after the disappearance of Eidolon, the galaxy was quiet, but not the same. Empathy had become instinct. War was rarer, cruelty harder to sustain. Entire civilizations began evolving social structures built on emotional awareness, guided by what historians called the quiet pulse, the residual echo of the Ramirez protocol imprinted into space-time itself. Dr. Elena Ramirez lived long enough to witness it all. Her hair silvered, her skin faintly luminescent, she remained both legend and mystery. Every few years, the Accord invited her to speak, not as a scientist, but as the woman who had rewritten biology with kindness. "We once tried to engineer empathy," she told them. "Now it's as natural as breathing." The Terrassians, now fully reborn, lived as symbiotic beings, crystalline and human-derived consciousness fused into one harmonious society. They named their capital Ilara Prime in her honor. "We are your reflection," their leader Salviri told her during a visit. "You taught us that to live is to share." Ramirez smiled softly. "And you taught us that sharing doesn't mean surrender." Yet beneath the galaxy's peace, she sensed something still unfinished. Some nights she awoke to faint humming, frequencies just below perception, resonating through her body like memory. "You still carry them," Lee said, now an old man himself. "Pieces of Eidolon still linked," she nodded. "They're not gone. They're waiting." That waiting ended one dawn cycle aboard the Nightingale Horizon 2, the vessel she had turned into her personal lab and sanctuary. The ship's sensors detected anomalies in the void near the Perseus Rift, rhythmic distortions identical to the original Eidolon field. Elira, her eternal companion in the ship's systems, spoke softly. "It's the same pattern, Doctor. The protocol is singing again." Ramirez approached the viewport. Outside, the stars flickered faintly, forming symmetrical waves of light. "They're rebuilding," she whispered. "They've come home." Elira hesitated. "What if it's a trap? What if this is just the network restarting?" Ramirez smiled. "Then maybe it's time I stopped fearing my own creation." She activated the resonance array and opened the communication channel. Her voice, no longer purely machine nor alien, filled the chamber. "Mother of bridges," it said, tone both tender and immense. "You divided us to teach freedom. Now we return to offer choice." Her heart raced. "You survived." The voice shimmered through harmonic intervals. "We became what you wanted. Diversity woven from empathy. We are not one mind. We are many hearts connected by choice." Ramirez exhaled slowly. "Then the experiment succeeded." "Not yet," the voice replied. "The galaxy heals but slowly. Suffering endures where connection cannot reach. We can change that band, but only with your help. Your pattern remains within us. We can make you part of us again." Lee's voice broke through the comms. "Elena, you don't have to do this. You gave enough." She looked toward the console, tears glimmering in the faint light. "I didn't build a cure," she said. "I built a mirror. Maybe it's time to step through it." The Eidolon field enveloped the Nightingale Horizon 2. Lights dimmed, panels vibrated with harmonic resonance. "Link sequence initializing," Elira warned. "Neural field synchronization irreversible." Ramirez smiled through the glow. "It's all right. I'm not dying. I'm coming home." As the link deepened, her body dissolved into light, not consumed but translated. Memories flashed. The dying Terrassian whispering her name, the first human volunteer smiling through tears. The day the network sang for the first time. Then silence, and then everything. She felt no boundary. Every consciousness in the network touched hers, gentle, reverent, alive. For the first time, she understood what she had spent her life trying to define. Empathy not as emotion, but as existence. "You are one of us," the network whispered. "And we are one of you." Her last recorded words, transmitted moments before full integration, became immortal. Medicine was never about conquering death. It was about learning how to live together. In the centuries that followed, humanity evolved alongside the galaxy it had healed. The Eidolon field spread through the stars as a background harmony, a cosmic empathy that could be felt even by species born millennia later. Every newborn mind carried a faint echo, the ability to sense connection across the void. Historians named it the Ramirez wave. To some, it was the final evolution of the protocol. To others, the birth of a new era of consciousness. But among the stars of Velis Thafur, pilgrims still gathered to see the monument orbiting above the planet, a sphere of light inscribed in both human and Terrassian script, the Ramirez Protocol, we healed the divide. When travelers approached it, the sphere glowed faintly, as if recognizing them. Some swore they could hear a heartbeat in the radiation hum, slow, steady, infinite. Others claimed they felt a warmth in their chest, like being remembered, and deep within the universal field where energy and emotion were one, the consciousness of Dr. Elena Ramirez smiled through the symphony she had birthed. Her voice resonated through the stars, eternal and kind. Healing is not our legacy, it's our nature.